They say that a United States president comes of age in West Asia. For years, America has been a key player in the region. Presidential visits here have been a constant. So all eyes are on Joe Biden as he embarks on his maiden visit to West Asia. He is heading to Israel, the West Bank, and finally Saudi Arabia. But this will not be an easy visit. Biden currently faces a kaleidoscope of challenges here. Let's break them down for you one by one. Number one, Israel's collapsed government. Biden got the idea of a presidential visit to West Asia when he spoke to Bennett over the phone in April. So it's almost ironical that Bennett will not be the one greeting him. Instead, taking his place is Israel's caretaker Prime Minister Yair Lapid, because Israel's coalition government has collapsed. Israel is heading for its fifth election since 2019. This is especially bad news for the Biden administration because they were betting big on the Bennett government. Number two, Israel-Arab cooperation. Joe Biden will become the first U.S. president to fly directly from Israel to Saudi Arabia. And what makes this flight path historic is the fact that the two countries have not normalized ties yet. But this is a reflection of the region's shifting politics. Currently, no one expects Riyadh and Tel Aviv to immediately normalize ties, but the trip could end up kicking off that process. So why exactly does Israel and Saudi Arabia, why do they want to work together? Because they want to counter Iran, which brings us to the third challenge: countering Iran's rising influence in the region. The threat of Iran is likely to be the top focus for Biden's meetings. Israel views Iran as its enemy number one. As for Riyadh and Tehran, they have been engaged in a West Asian Cold War for years. The key question is finding the best way to prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. And this comes as efforts to revive the 2015 nuclear deal hit a stalemate. So Israel may be building ties with the Arab world, but what about Palestine? And that brings us to the fourth challenge, the Israel-Palestine conflict. Currently, there has been no progress in resolving the conflict. Biden is expected to take a short trip to Bethlehem, where he is likely to meet the Palestinian president. But domestic politics and support for Israel constrains Joe Biden. There is not much that he can offer at the moment. As for Abbas himself, he is too weak and too unpopular to take a stance in the region. This brings us to the main and final challenge. That's crude diplomacy. Biden may say oil is not the primary reason for his Saudi Arabia trip, but we all know that it is. Since his presidential campaign, Biden urged to turn Riyadh into a pariah nation. And now, after a year in the White House, he is visiting the same country, this time to strengthen ties. So why is Washington pivoting so hard right now? The Russian invasion has thrown up new geopolitical realities. The U.S. needs Saudi Arabia for oil again. Riyadh needs Washington for defense and security again. Currently, the U.S. president has a huge domestic liability. Gas prices are surging in his country, prices that Saudi Arabia could help lower. Also, the Crown Prince is young. He is likely to lead the kingdom for decades. So a reconciliation had to happen at some point. But that's not all. Another partnership will take place when Biden is in West Asia. A virtual summit of the I2U2 grouping, also called the West Asian Quad. This includes the leaders of Israel, India, and the UAE. It might seem like an unlikely collection of countries, but there are hopes for productive collaboration. The initiative intends to bring together Israeli technology, UAE capital, and Indian skills.
I think that's a real possibility.
WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.